Hey everyone, this is Wetslicks. We're back on TT Isle of Man Riding the Edge 3. I thought we'd do a video today on the physics settings and the differences between beginner, intermediate, and realistic physics. And there is a reason for this, and the reason is that I think I'm going to try and swap over to realistic physics from this video forwards, just for the extra challenge. I've tried it out a bit, and I haven't. There's some areas of the game it affects massively and are much more difficult on realistic settings, and there's other parts of the game where when you're sort of going at medium speed through corners and stuff, you're okay. It doesn't really affect anything. So I'm going to give it a go, and we'll see. I do tend to be quite a bit slower. This at the moment is on beginner physics, and the main areas that I tend to find you notice the difference is, firstly, grip. Feels like there is more grip at lower settings. Not massively, maybe like 10-15% difference between the different levels, but the definitely feels like there's a lot more grip on the roads that you can use. I find with realistic, as we'll see when we get onto it in a minute, you tend to find yourself going out wide a little bit on certain corners. The bike doesn't feel as tight, maybe. It feels like it's understeering more, which is kind of harder to deal with. So grip is sort of one of the elements that is more difficult, more realistic settings, physics settings. One of the other things is leaning. I find stuff like this corner in particular, this type of thing, doesn't feel any different for me, beginner, intermediate, or realistic physics, because you're sort of not completely leant over the bike, but you are sort of mid-lean. You've got speed on the bike, speed through the corner, and other than the grip level being slightly less at the more realistic settings, it doesn't feel too different. It's the slower speed corners, I would say. It's the bike low siding is one of the things I've noticed in terms of stability. That'll probably be the next thing. So the bike stability is a little bit more tricky to deal with at the higher realistic, more realistic bike settings. That's something I noticed a lot, is those slow speed corners. You've got the bike down in your first or second gear, and you've leant right over on it, and the bike's almost touching the floor. That's the type of thing where beginner settings, you're going to get away with braking on those kind of corners, or even just like leaning the bike all the way over, so that it's almost touching the floor. You're absolutely fine. It's quite difficult almost to actually fall off the bike. Whereas realistic settings, it almost feels like you're down in first gear, you go into a tight corner, and you lean the bike over, and it'll just drop on you out of nowhere sometimes. That's something I've noticed. Intermediate is not too bad for that. If you apply a lot of front brake while you're fully leant over in slow speed corner, then you might drop the bike. But realistic settings is really where I've noticed the difference with that. So there's the grip, there's the sort of bike stability, and then one of the other places I've noticed it as well. This is where the setting is, of course. It's in the settings there in general. So we'd restart the course here. Yeah, so grip, stability, especially at low speed, and the other thing is braking, and the braking tends to be hugely different. We can't change it, of course. But if we quit out of here, we'll go on to the realistic settings. I've been playing on intermediate almost the entire time I've been playing the game, other than messing about with it originally a little bit. So with the intermediate settings, I find is like a really good in between, where you've got a good amount of grip on the road. You feel like you can really push, but you can also be quite jarring on the controls. You can brake super heavily into a corner, and mid corner leant over quite a ways. Maybe not that full lean as I was talking about, but Or as we crash into the wall there. Yeah, it's like it's a good in between. You know, it's not too bad on either. You know, the game will punish you if you like that. If you're fully leaning over the bike and braking, you are just going to fall over. But you can brake while on full lean, and it's not too bad on that. So I found that kind of a good in between, and found it a good way to play the game because it's not too frustrating. Realistic, on the other hand, is another kettle of fish altogether. You can feel, as I said, there's less grip. The bike does feel a bit more unstable. Over bumps, yes, but that's not as much of a problem as the low speed leaning in, because it does feel like once you've slowed the bike down, as soon as you're like really leaning right into some of those slow speed corners, the bike just tips over. So that's quite difficult to deal with. And then I've found for myself the biggest problem switching to realistic physics is the brakes. The brakes are far harder for me personally on realistic settings to do. You cannot really, on the super bikes anyway, not so much the super sports. I haven't found it so bad on the super sports. On the super bikes, especially the more powerful ones like the BMW, you just can't brake fully at any point really. You will stoppie a lot. Stoppies are a lot harder to deal with. You get a lot more stoppies generally. You put any kind of hard pressure, you know, full brake on that front brake, and the bike will start going into a stoppie. So that's very difficult that's been the most difficult thing for me to transition into realistic physics. As I said, I think I'm going to give it a go, just because I think I can't. I've been taking this YouTube malarkey a little bit more seriously recently, and I feel like I want a bit more of a challenge. I do want a bit more of a challenge. You know, that even having the AI on 100% now, I still beat them pretty easily, and I think it could be a little bit more fun to put it into realistic, learn a little bit more, you know, with this game, and continue sort of improving at it. Because otherwise, you just sort of keep trying the same things over and over. It's not as fun. So I'm going to give that a go. But yeah, those are sort of the main differences and the main things that I've kind of struggled with between beginner, intermediate, and realistic is the grip, the stability, and the braking. For me, those are the three main things. The sort of mid-speed kind of corners where you're not leant over the bike too much, that feels pretty much exactly the same to me, apart from the slight difference in grip between those. But yeah, I hope you've enjoyed my sort of ramblings today about the different physics settings. As I said, we're going to try. We're going to see how it goes. Probably it's going to result in a lot more crashes in the career mode and the other stuff I've been trying, but it should be good fun as well. But for the moment, thanks very much for watching, and see you next time.